Hey guys, welcome to an evening edition of 10-Minute Kick-Ass Coaching. I'm coming to you live from a hotel I'm staying at up in Westchester County, New York. And we're going to discuss a little bit about something called marketing and how much should you actually invest back in your business when it comes to marketing costs and what's the importance of it. Well, there's two primary functions in a business. We talked about that before, but you want to obviously get the customer, and you want to maintain that customer, and you want to make sure you have growth in your business with innovation. We've already discussed that, so that's definitely a very important part to it. But when it comes to spending money on marketing, I really look at it as an investment standpoint. So I guess from the way I look at it, if you're investing in real estate, when you're investing in stocks, when you're investing in another business, whatever the case is, I think that's an investment in your growth. And I put marketing right in that category with it, that investing or marketing is an investment. So how much should you put into that investment? Well, it depends on your business model. If you're a service-based business, you probably have a smaller piece of the pie that you can invest. If you're a non-service-based business or you're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, whatever the case is, then you can obviously invest quite a bit more because the upside of it is very good, and the downside is you have very little expenses versus operating a restaurant or a real estate office, a restoration business, carpet cleaning business, whatever the case it may be. You're going to have certain costs that are incorporated in that in the first place. So my thing is it's an investment. It's not a cost. And you have to allocate what your business sustains. So there's a lot of market research out there that tells you I can invest 5%, 10%, as much as 20% even on things. And I could tell you, I'll give you some bare numbers. In the restoration side of the business, I can spend anywhere between 8% and as much as really 15%. If I spend 20% on a consistent basis, it will really affect the profit in our business. It's just too much money to spend on marketing costs. Now, some would say that's not a bad deal. I will say I like to be right around 10%. I think that's really a good round number. I have no problem because that's investing 10% in your business. So you're taking 10% and you're taking 90% of whatever's left, and then you're breaking down the pie after that. But I think a marketing cost being at 10% of the acquisition is a good number. Again, it just depends on the business. I know people that spend 20, 30, even as much as 50%. A lot of people joint venture with other people and they split the profits, and that's a 50-50. That's a serious investment, but it depends on what the total amount is. If the job is, if that person is bringing in $100,000, it's a $50,000 possible payday minus acquisition costs minus, whatever costs or cogs that are into that particular business model. So marketing itself is really, again, something you have to know your numbers with. If you know your cost of goods sold, your COGS, you can break down, what things cost, how much this thing cost, how much labor cost, how much direct liabilities, indirect liabilities cost, how much advertising. Advertising is not really marketing to me. Selling is not marketing. Selling is getting a result. Marketing is bringing people in and prospects in. So whatever you're spending on your spending and investing into has to be a percentage that you feel is tangible for your business to still sustain a profit. What you have to look at is return to owner. At the end of the day, how much are you able to sustain back to the profit center, the net profit after all of your gross expenses? You can't really control much about what the government's going to take. You can write off a few things, of course, but at the end of the day, the government's going to take what they're going to take, so you really can't control that portion. But what you can control are your fixed costs before taxes. So find out what your numbers are, find out what you can spend, and that's really where you can set your benchmark to what you can afford to spend or invest into your marketing. You can also, another thing I want to get into was investing into equipment and infrastructure. How much and how often should you do that? I think a portion, and I'll go back with the 10% number of a gross profit should be invested back into infrastructure of the business at a minimum. Some people don't think that's a great idea. I do, especially when you have a service-based business, because you obviously have some infrastructure in the first place. If you're a carpet cleaner, you have a truck mount, you have extraction equipment, you have blowers, you have a truck, you have chemicals, you have all those things. Chemicals, of course, are broken down different than capital expenses like a truck mount or like a large extractor, but it's still an expense. that you have to invest into. So every time you hit a certain benchmark, you should make sure a percentage of that money, again, a piece of that pizza pie, so to speak, is being invested back into the infrastructure of your business. I'm an Amazon investor. We talked about this before. As an Amazon investor, we invest heavily in infrastructure of the business. So we know that it's not exactly a super profitable thing up front from an investment standpoint, not bad standpoint, but you look at the big picture or the back end. And the back end is tremendously beneficial when it comes to knowing the growth of your business, knowing where you could take it. So figure out what piece of the pie you can go and spend money onto. If your marketing is 10% and your reacquisition into assets is 10%, or your investment into infrastructure is 10%, not a bad. It's 20% right off the top, but it's maintaining your long-term goal, the back-end goal, similar to what Amazon is. In the restoration business, if we don't invest in new equipment, maintenance on equipment, updating equipment, we're in big trouble, because we go out times like this where we're very, very busy with a lot of pipe breaks and pipe bursts, and I'm on a big job up here right now. We know that if we don't invest in that, we got big problems down the road. Actually, not down the road, right across the street, literally, because if that equipment breaks down and we can't do a job, it costs us a tremendous amount of money now. Now, a certain amount of that we can lease, and so we don't have to keep and maintain a ton of inventory, but at the same time, we want to hold on to our own goods. When I had my restoration business back in Pennsylvania, I was the guy that people actually called sometimes to rent equipment from, because I had to have it. Well, the reason I had so much equipment was not necessarily by choice. I would have loved to have leased some of that, but there wasn't many options back then. Equipment was at least 3 hours away to even rent it, so I had to have it on stock. So obviously I had a fair amount of equipment in storage at all times, to be able to do jobs, everything from larger commercial jobs to residential. But I had to make sure a certain piece of that was always reinvested back into the business. I had to make sure that some of that money was put back into the business in order to grow the business. So if I did a commercial job and I had, let's say, the commercial job was $10,000, I would allocate $1,000 into the infrastructure of business, which could be equipment, dehumidifiers, whatever the case was. I took at least 10% of that gross profit before taxes, and of course you got a write-off there because you're investing into your equipment for the most part, unless you go crazy. But you can reinvest it right back into it and take that deduction at the end of the year, and or depreciate the asset over a period of X amount of years. If the equipment's going to last 5 years, that's an option too as well. But look at it from the standpoint that you can put that money back in your business. You're building up the infrastructure, just like Amazon builds up their logistical warehouses and things all over the country. They maintain with modern, brand new equipment, modern, brand new, more efficient stuff. That way they can get the package delivered to you quickest and the most efficient way possible. That's what they're very good at. They've been that way since pretty much they started from his garage. So look at that. Make sure you invest a certain piece of your money into your infrastructure and into your marketing. Figure out what that piece of that pie is going to be. Feel free to add your comments, what you think it might be in your business. Obviously, every business is different. Again, I know businesses that invest 50% into their marketing and probably another 10% in infrastructure. I know people that invest 10% in marketing, like myself, and 10% in infrastructure. That is the key goal, to keep it at 10% marketing acquisition and 10% investment in COGS, or investment in infrastructure. Infrastructure is your equipment, what you do to do a job every single day, the tools you need. That's part of your infrastructure. So make sure you put that piece away. Make sure you continue to reinvest and figure out what that number is going to be and what works best for you. Again, the number changes depending on industry. So if you're a carpet cleaner, it's one number. If you're a restoration contractor, it's a different number. But it's all percentages at the end of the day. Percentages matter, dollars don't. The percentage is 10% of your pie, and that's 90% left, the dollars don't matter. But if that percentage is 30%, then the dollars matter, because it's too much. So always know your numbers, always know your percentages, and always know where you need to reinvest in your infrastructure and your business. And you'll never really go wrong. Just make sure you always maintain those numbers. And that's pretty much what today's talk is about. That's today's episode number 27 now of 10-Minute Kick-Ass Coaching. I'm making up for Friday not being able to get one out, and I put one out early this morning. So thanks so much. I appreciate it, and have a great day. We got a little bit of ice outside in Westchester County, New York right now. So it's nice and toasty in the hotel, and I got to get back out and get back onto a large loss tomorrow. So Have a good night. Thanks. Bye.